Welcome into Mock Trial Masterclass, your guide to controlling the courtroom. I'm Luke and I want you to be a mock trial master. Let's talk about how you can make that happen. I've got some news for you if you want to be a lawyer in mock trial. You're going to talk a lot. Now, sometimes talking a lot in mock trial means that we occasionally say some things that we probably shouldn't say. I'm not talking about mean things or swearing or anything like that. I'm talking about things that we say to a witness or to a judge that just really don't make a whole lot of sense, and we probably should have said something else that was better instead. So to maybe help you avoid some of those moments where you go, man, that was dumb, in this video we're going to go over 4 things that you should eliminate from your vocabulary in mock trial. Now, these are all very common, and there's probably a chance that you've used one of these phrases before. I know that I certainly used probably all of these phrases at some point when I was a competitor. So if we get to one of these phrases and you go, oh, I've used that one before, don't feel bad. We've all done it. What I want to do is to give you a tool to improve your performance, because these are all phrases that mock trial masters don't use. And so if you can flip that switch and eliminate these phrases from your vocabulary, you'll be even closer to mock trial master status. So, are you ready to go over the 4 phrases you need to eliminate from your mock trial vocabulary? Let's do it. Phrase number 1 that needs to go in the trash can is, I would like to. The most common times that this phrase gets used is when you're calling a witness. For example, I would or we would like to call Dave Smith to the stand. Another time is when you're putting in an exhibit. You say, I would like to enter exhibit A. Or maybe if you're certifying your expert witness as an expert, you say, I would like to certify, I would like to tender this witness as an expert. Here's the problem with I would like. A lot of times in those situations, you're not asking permission to do something. Right, when you're calling a witness, you're not asking permission to call that witness. You're simply stating, hey, we're calling this witness. And when you're putting in an exhibit, you're not saying, we kind of want to put in this exhibit. No, you're saying, we're putting in this exhibit. And so that being the case, you need to use language that reflects that. Because at the end of the day, all mock trial rounds come down to is which side controls the courtroom better. And when you use language like, I would like to, or we kind of want to, you start to lose control of the courtroom because you're not using language that has authority to it. Now, look at and listen to the difference between saying, we would like to call Dave Smith to the stand, to saying, defense calls Dave Smith to the stand. Right? Just a very small difference in the words, but a big difference in the meaning. What's the difference in we would like to put in exhibit A versus defense offers exhibit A? Right? That's a big difference in control and in authority, right? When you don't use the I would like to language that makes it sound like, I'm not really sure, I'm kind of running away from the question. When you use that authoritative language, it helps your control of the courtroom. Next phrase that needs to go out of your vocabulary in mock trial is, thank you, Your Honor. Now, I want to be clear with this, that if the judge hands you a document or, compliments you after a round, right, that's different. That's a pleasantry. Here's what I'm referring to. You make an objection, you win the objection, and then you look at the judge and say, thank you, Your Honor. It's so icky. It makes it sound like the judge, you're trying to make the judge like your crony, and you're like, thank you for this, and thank you for siding with me. It's really bad. But you know what's even worse? When you make an objection and you lose an objection, and you say, thank you, Your Honor. In other words, thank you for ruling against me. How ridiculous does that sound? The phrase you need to be using is just, yes, Your Honor. So you make the objection gets sustained, yes, Your Honor. You ask for the judge's preference on moving about the courtroom, and he says, you may move about the well freely, or she says, you may move about the well freely. Just, yes, Your Honor. Not, thank you, Your Honor. Because it just sounds icky, and I promise that icky is how it's going to come across to your scorers. Third mock trial phrase that needs to get thrown into the garbage can is, at this time. This one plagues a lot of mock trial students. I know I said it all the time when I was a competitor, so I'm guilty too, but it really does need to go away, and here's why. You want to sound, during a trial, real. You want to sound like a human, not like you're a lawyer trying to use lawyer words or lawyer phrases. You want to sound like a real person. You want the jury to like you. You want them to relate to you. And so if we're trying to be real, why would we use a phrase like at this time that we don't use in real life? And if you're not convinced that we don't use that phrase in real life, let me give you this scenario. You're in the drive-thru at Wendy's. The operator of the drive-thru window comes through the speaker and says, hi, welcome to Wendy's. Can I take your order? Do you then speak into that speaker and say, at this time, I will have a Dave's double cheeseburger, and at this time, I would like a small Diet Coke? No person has ever done that. Now, if you're watching this video and you have done that before, hey, more power to you. But my guess is that none of you have, because that's not human language. We don't go to the drive-thru window and say, at this time, I'll have whatever. And so we just need to get rid of it because it's completely unnecessary. A lot of times it gets used when you're calling a witness. At this time, we call this witness. Just say we call this witness. It also gets used when you're putting in an exhibit. At this time, we offer exhibit 4. Just say we offer exhibit 4. It's an unnecessary phrase. It makes you sound a little bit stiff and robotic. And you might think I'm being nitpicky with this, but again, when it comes to being a mock trial master, you've got to take your performance to the highest level possible. And those who perform in mock trial at the highest level possible don't say at this time. Before we get into the fourth phrase that you never need to say again, and spoiler, this is the biggest one and the worst one and my ultimate pet peeve, I want to remind you that you can schedule coaching with me. Just earlier today, I spent a couple of hours with a great school in Pennsylvania working with them on their directs and crosses. It was super fun. It was super helpful for everyone, including me. I got to learn from them and enjoyed listening to them. I would love to do the same thing for you and your team. So if you would like to schedule coaching with me to work on something like I did with that school in Pennsylvania, or something else that you have in mind, click the link in the description on YouTube or in the show notes on podcast platforms, and we'll make it happen. All right, phrase number 4 that needs to never be said by you again in a courtroom. Horrible, 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 this one. Are you ready? I stand by my objection. Now, I feel the need to say again, if you've used this one before, don't feel guilty. Don't turn off the video and say he's being mean to me, right? I'm not. We've all made mistakes. We've all said things like that before. But moving forward, if you want to compete at this activity with excellence, if you want to control the courtroom like a mock trial master, you cannot ever say, I stand by my objection. If you've never said this before, if you've never seen it happen before, here's how it typically goes. One side makes an objection, the other side offers a really, really good response to that objection, and when it goes back to the first attorney, they're left without anything to say, and because of that, they just say, I stand by my objection. Two things are happening when you say, I stand by my objection. The first thing is, what you're really in effect saying is, Your Honor, that was a really good argument, and it stumped me, and I have nothing left to say. I promise that that is what scorers hear when you say that. That's certainly what I hear when I'm scoring rounds, and I know plenty of other scorers that hear and think the exact same thing when you use those words. They think that the other side must have made such a good argument that it completely stumped you and you've got nothing left to say. You do not want that to happen, because the whole point of mock trial, again, is to be in control of the courtroom. And if you're looking at the judge and in effect saying they made such a good argument that I have no idea where to go next, you're losing that control pretty quickly. But you know what else happens when you say, I stand by my objection? You are inviting the judge to rule against you. When a judge hears, I stand by my objection, whether they know it or not, whether it's conscious or subconscious, their mind shifts to, oh, this guy's probably not right, or this girl's probably not right. Some of the other phrases we've talked about in this episode, you get rid of just to kind of clean things up and to sound more in control and to sound more professional. But when it comes to I stand by my objection, using that phrase will literally lose objections for you. So you got to get rid of it. Now, you may be sitting there thinking, well, what happens if I really don't have anything left to say? Here's my tip. Instead of just saying I stand by my objection and putting your hands to your side and taking defeat right on the chin, look at the judge and say, Your Honor, again, and return to your previous argument. Now, if you've yet to argue your objection, if you just said objection hearsay and the other side made a response and it's come back to you, then you need to argue your objection using the formula I teach in my video on arguing objections. Return to the rule, cite the rule that matters for this situation, connect that rule to the objection at hand, and then fight like your life depends on it. But if we've done that already and you still don't really know what to say, there's nothing left for you to say, just say, Your Honor, again, and return to the argument that you've already made. I promise that will work out so much better than saying, I stand by my objection. So that's it, 4 phrases that you need to get rid of in your vocabulary. And I know that if you get rid of them, it's going to infinitely improve your performance and help you get way, way closer to mock trial master status, which, by the way, you're capable of.